Hi, I'm Lillian. Welcome back to my channel, Ink and Pages. This video is going to be a quick one about the books I finished reading in autumn 2022. It's going to be a pretty short video because I only actually finished reading 3 books. It was a very busy time for me because it was the start of the new academic year at my job. Then it was NaNoWriMo, which I did have a great time doing, but the one downside to it was that I did hardly any reading in November. And then we had all the chaos leading up to Christmas. So the one book I finished reading in September was Reputation by Lex Croucher, which I've been looking forward to reading for ages, and it did not disappoint. I've known of this author for ages because I followed her on YouTube for like years and years and years, so I was a little bit worried that this couldn't live up to the expectations, but it definitely did. I would describe this as Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice meets Mean Girls. I think that's really the best way to describe it. This is about a girl called Georgiana who goes to stay with her aunt and uncle and then falls in with this rich, popular girl called Frances, and things ensue from there. It has family and friendship and romance dynamics, and they were all just done so perfectly. Georgiana was a really fun main character to read about. She is a little bit annoying, but in like a realistic way that teenagers are just a bit annoying, not in like an overhyped or overly dramatic way that a book's protagonist might behave. This was a really fun time, but it also had some like darker moments, which just gave the book like its depth that made it so good. I had a great balance of the lighter and darker elements, and it was just like a really beautifully crafted story, and I gave it 4 stars. Next, in October, I finished The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley. This is a mystery thriller about a down-on-her-luck woman called Lucy who goes to Paris to stay with her brother for a little while, but when she gets there, he has vanished, and she soon starts to suspect that something very bad has happened. This one was not as good as I was hoping, and had several different aspects that just fell flat for me. Mostly the fact that apart from one twist, which happens about halfway through the book, which I did not predict, from that point onwards, I could tell every single thing that was going to happen. I predicted literally every plot twist and every reveal to the point where it was like laughable and ridiculous. I'm not even joking, literally every time there was a reveal, I'd read it and be like, oh, okay, I predicted that 100 pages ago. For the entire second half of the book, I felt like I was always 3 steps ahead of all of the characters because like they didn't really have a clue what was going on, but I did, which is not really the reading experience you want for a mystery book. Another thing I didn't really like was the characters themselves. They just weren't likable, and I know that you can have a book full of unlikable characters. Lucy Foley's other book I've read, The Guest List, did I think a much better job at having all the characters be flawed and really quite dislikable in many cases, but they were still like interesting enough that you wanted to read about them and see what was going to happen. I didn't feel that way about, I don't think, any of the characters in here. And finally, I didn't like the very intense, pressurized feeling of this book because it's long, it's chunky, it's over 400 pages, but all the action happens within, I think, like 5 days, maybe definitely less than a week. And I think the intention was to make it feel intense in an intriguing and compelling way. But actually, I just really didn't like that. I thought it was very stressful. It felt very bloated as a book, like it did not need to be 400 pages. I think it could have been 3/4 of that length and just felt a lot tighter and still have felt interesting and compelling and intense. So this was a disappointment and not one I'm going to keep on my shelves. But I could see how it would be a good book for other people. I can see how other people might enjoy it. And so I would not recommend it to you if it sounds intriguing. And hopefully, if you choose to read this, you'll like it more than I did. I have given it 2 stars. And my last read of 2022 was Nimona by N.D. Stevenson, which was a reread for me and just perfect. This is hilariously the one book I gave 5 stars to in 2022. And honestly, it's just perfect. This is genuinely my perfect graphic novel. Last time I read this was in 2019, so 3 years between rereads was like the perfect amount of time for me to forget all the details and exactly why I loved it so much, but not the fact that I did absolutely love it. So it was such fun to reread it and like rediscover everything that makes it so amazing. This is about Nimona, who is a shapeshifter, and she becomes the sidekick of the city's villain, Lord Ballister Blackheart, and it's just a good time from there. There's shapeshifting and sharks and science and arch nemesis, and it's just perfect. Like, genuinely, there's not a single thing I would change. It is such fun all the way through and surprisingly emotional by the very end, and it was just a perfect way to end the year. So if you have not read this, I am begging you, do yourself a favour and please add this to your 2023 TBR pile. You will not regret it. So there we have it, my shortest wrap up I think I've done in a long time. I would love to hear your thoughts if you've read any of these 3 books, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!